Okay, let's talk about the problem with NPCs. Now at the start, I have to be honest and say that I engage in a little bit of clickbait with the title of this recording. Insofar as I'm not going to be discussing the problem with NPCs, rather I'm going to be discussing the problem with the concept itself. So if you clicked on this video expecting yet another in a long line of videos exposing the liberal SJW NPCers, well, I regret to inform you that that is not going to take place. However, hopefully you'll stick around and maybe I'll make you think about a thing or two, or, you know, at least that's my goal. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, NPC is short for non-player character. This is a video game term that refers to the characters that are coded into the background and have no direct role in the gameplay itself. They are the background characters that the actual gamer has no control of. Rather, they just sort of sit there for scenery and context for the actual character that the gamer is playing. And so they are referred to as non-player characters. And as I just alluded to a second ago, this NPC idea gained more prominence in the past year when it was co-opted by the political paradigm and used by one side to refer to the ideas of the other side and belittle and dehumanize those people to such an extent that their belief system is the equivalent of not even being a real person functioning in this reality. But NPC, or non-player character, as a concept, has a broader and deeper history, especially in quote-unquote spiritual circles. Let me show you what I mean. For example, there was this individual who referred to NPCs as backdrop people. And this interpretation of NPCs was pretty hardcore. This person referred to them as being just a little bit of energy. They were holographic. They didn't really exist. They were just in the background of your reality, and it was only if you gave that energy enough attention that it would formulate itself into something that could be observed and then be more real. But at a fundamental level, according to this individual, these backdrop people didn't really exist. They were just like the non-player characters in a video game. They were just there for your own scenery and context to make your world seem more real. One of the metaphors that this person gave was that they were like extras on a movie set. And in the same way that the non-player characters function in a video game, the extras in a movie function in the same way. They are just there for scenery and context to make the dialogue of the actual actors who have lines seem more real and make their world seem more real. Because if there were no extras and no background characters, it would just be 4 or 5 people going around acting out these lines, and the whole story wouldn't be very believable at all, now would it? And this person also sort of made the Truman Show obligatory reference that, yes, it's like you're Truman and the rest of the people are just scripted and giving your story background. And it's always so interesting to me when I come across an idea like this, especially when it's promulgated by someone that refers to themselves as a spiritual teacher or a channeler or a light worker or anything like that. You'll see this sort of mentality all over that realm of YouTube. And it's so fascinating how they use this NPC idea to make their followers feel special. And they make them feel so special that they remove their common sense and intuition from the equation. What do I mean by that? Well, this person also said that the backdrop people would eventually just be trapped in 3D Earth after serving their purpose. And the real people, as it were, would then ascend to the new Earth. And of course, presumably, if you were listening to this person, you were a part of the real people that would ascend to the new Earth. You weren't an NPC or backdrop person. and so it's always amazing to me how these people don't seem to realize, because of what they're being told, that this ascension story is identical to the rapture story that is given to the Abrahamic faith. And that's so incredible because many of the people that listen to the ideas of a person like this, a spiritual teacher like this, would so easily point their finger at religion and say, oh yeah, well, religion is crazy. We don't need that anymore. Look at how ridiculous religion is. Oh my goodness. And then at the same time, their underlying philosophy is the exact same as that religious philosophy. The end goal is the same. And another part of this that is so amazing, and this is more so when you get into, I mean, it happens all over YouTube, but it's more so when you get into sort of the corollary to the spiritual side of the NPC idea, which is the more scientific simulation theory. And this non-player character idea is very prevalent in the circles that discuss simulation theory. And they'll talk about organic portals, which is another way to say that, oh yes, all of these background NPC people are just organic portals. They have no souls, and they're just scripted, and they're used by the controller of the simulation to give the real people trapped here some context and scenery for their own life, but none of them are real, and they have no souls. And it's so fascinating. It is just amazing to watch these YouTube channels that talk about all these subjects, especially some of the more popular ones, because these channels are in virtual reality, right? That's what the internet is. It's a virtual reality. And there are troll farms all over YouTube that are tasked with writing comments under the YouTube videos of some of these individuals that talk about simulation theory, or they talk about spiritual topics in the same way when referring to non-player characters or organic portals or backdrop people, however you want to describe it. And so this is the amazing part, right? The people that buy into this rhetoric start viewing themselves as some sort of special individual that is awake and has knowledge that no one else around them has. And then after they listen to this propaganda enough, they start to believe that the individuals in their reality are not even real people. They don't have souls. They're NPCs. And yet, while they're on YouTube, they don't even know that the comment section that they're reading, that they think is reinforcing their beliefs, is probably like 80% fake accounts. Just writing comments to reinforce the brand of the YouTube channel and make the YouTube channel seem more popular and influential than it really is. So the people, do you see the duplicitous insanity of this, where if you are unfortunate enough to fall into this trap, you're pointing your finger at everyone around you and saying, these people are NPCs. They're not even real. They don't even have souls. And then at the same time, you're under that YouTube page reading comments from legitimate NPCs that are not real characters. They're just providing scenery and context for your interactive experience in virtual reality on YouTube. Now, how about that for a mind blower? You know, it's crazy. But yeah, so this really gets at the whole problem with this NPC idea. The incredible arrogance that it promotes, for you to even have the audacity to pretend like your little bit of awareness gives you the intuition and wisdom to say that there are all of these soulless organic portal NPCers in your reality that aren't real people. Come on now, guys. I mean, let me put it to you like this. What is more likely? That everyone around you doesn't have a soul and they're just not real people in your reality. That's the one possibility. And okay, hey, anything's possible. Let's say that's possible. Or everyone around you has been so programmed and is under such mind control that it just hasn't been broken yet, like some of your mind control has been broken. And so you just view them in a way that they could not be real, but the reality of the situation is they just haven't had their programming broken yet. And they're just as real as you are in that scenario. And so would it make sense if there was an intelligence trying to manipulate everyone and prevent them from coming together in some sort of united understanding of what was going on in a way that would maybe break the control system on this planet? Would it make sense for them to promote a philosophy that would lead you to totally discard all of the people in your reality as not being real? So what's more likely, that scenario or the scenario where they're just not real? You know, I'm just throwing that out there. But I wanted to share a story, a personal anecdote that would sort of elucidate what I'm talking about here. It happened just recently, actually. I got an email from an old account that I had used to register for a forum that I was posting on when I was first getting into this information. I mean, within the first year of finding out even a little bit of what was going on. And I randomly got an email from that website, that forum. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that. So I went back to the website and looked at it. Now, unfortunately, most of my posts that I had made were gone. But I did find a few that were made by me. And I was reading them I was laughing. Oh, I was cracking up. It was incredible to me what I was actually saying, what I believed. And this was, 8 years ago. And so my point, of course, is that my current awareness and level of understanding would read those posts from me and say, if I was under the spell of this NPC meme, I would say that I am an NPC. Do you understand? If I looked back on what I said 8 years ago, from my current perspective, or if I placed what I said 8 years ago, if I copy and pasted it and put it under one of these videos that talks about NPCs or organic portals or backdrop people, they would say that I'm an NPC. And yet here I am talking to you over the very same virtual reality right now, and you would say that I'm not an NPC. Do you see the problem? What am I getting at? Well, I'm getting at the idea that I alluded to earlier, which is, there's just a lot of people that haven't had their programming broken yet. They just don't know. And so if I can look at myself and say, oh, well, that was me, then how could I possibly point my finger at somebody else and be like, well, okay, wait a second. They're not real like me because they're not awake like me. Well, wait a second. I was just like that person 10 years ago. So how could I possibly make that judgment? It was ridiculous.